Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Join us on Twitter, Cascade Hoop Talk. Today, from the North Star Conference, happy to have Max Cooper, an all-conference All-American for the Mayville Comets. Max finished his 4-year career with the Comets. He played 95 games, over 900 points, over 400 rebounds. He blocked 49 shots, 44 assists, and 40 steals. He shot 62% from the field. I can't remember if that's for the season or the career. Nevertheless, this guy could make a basket. He was named North Star Athletic Association First Team. Honorable mention All-American. Congratulations on that. Welcome, Max. Was the 62%, was that this season or for your career?
I think, my junior season, I think I shot over 70%. I'm guessing it's most likely 60%. 'Cause I think I shot 62% this last season. I think that's what it was. So it's in the 60s somewhere, I believe.
Yeah.
Throughout the
This is Billy D at his best. I always try to prep. So Max, your junior year, you shot 69%. We're going to talk about that junior year in a minute. And then this last year, you shot 61.8. So you shot just over 61% for your career. What an amazing career. So you grew up just west of the cities. You went to Minnetonka High School. Talk about your experience with basketball at Minnetonka High School.
Okay, so yeah, I'm actually, not many people know. I mean, people at the school obviously know, but I was born and raised in England. I'm from England. My family's from England. Never really played basketball until I moved to the United States when I was 11 years old, 10 or 11 years old. I would say Minnetonka, the coaching I had throughout that youth program up into the high school definitely got me into it and helped a lot. But when I got into my Minnetonka High School, we have around 4,000 students. So the opportunity to play at a high level didn't really come until about my junior or senior year. My sophomore year, I played for the sophomore team, but I got pulled up to JV at the end of the year. Junior year, I played JV, I got a couple of varsity minutes, and then my senior year is really when I started playing and taking it seriously because I had that starting position role. So it's kind of like Mayville. I didn't really do much until my senior year, but I guess I did do a little bit my junior year at Mayville. But yeah, Minnetonka was a great experience. I was honored to be coached by Chris Carr, who played in the NBA and was in a dunk contest with Kobe, and he really got my career going. He taught me so much, as well as Jay Cota, who was my AU coach. Minnetonka was just an amazing experience for me. I had great teammates. You know, I had all the opportunities to learn from them and learn from the coaches, so that really helped me.
You come over here, you're a little bit older, you're playing, when you started to play basketball, you're playing against guys who, started playing ball as soon as they could walk, for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
You had a heck of a catch-up curve, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, gosh. I remember when I first came in to tryouts, I was not expecting what I expected. And I think a little bit the reason why I got picked up and got into the high school program was just because of my height my freshman year. But
okay.
I also learned a lot. My freshman B team coach was actually he played for North Carolina, so he was really good for me. He was a big guy too. His name was Will Robinson. He didn't play a whole lot, but he had a really good understanding of the game, and he helped me a lot as a player as well. This is kind of the motto throughout my career. At first it really sucked that I wasn't getting on the court and all that. I learned the most when I was watching and practicing with everyone who was better than me, and that's really where I took pride in becoming the player who I am today, So
yeah, because
I give credit to all that.
Number one, it sounds like you had some amazing mentors, and your evolution as a basketball player, I talked to you just before we started, but I think your story is amazing. So you get out of high school, and now it's time to go to college. How did you decide you were going to go to Mayville? Was it the big metropolis that drew you?
It was the community. I've always been from a bigger city, Minneapolis, or England, London, Minneapolis. Coming to Mayville was definitely different for me. But the thing that stood out to me the most was just the community and the teammates. I remember on my visit going to Mayville, I went to this restaurant, and 4 of the players came with me, and it blew me away how I just connected with them. 2 of them were from Ireland, and they really grew on me like as friends, as teammates before I even committed to Mayville. Like they would FaceTime me and call me at least once a week. There was also a former player who was from England who recruited me hard too, as well as Brian Piles. But Mayville was the only school that would contact me multiple times a week, just seeing how I'm doing, pushing for me to go there. So that's what really stood out to me. And just the community was so welcome. And that really was it for me. Like, obviously, by the looks of Mayville at first, I wouldn't have decided to go there because of all of the things that you can do. But when you get there, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of great things to Mayville that I will cherish and never take for granted. You know, it's a special place, and it has a special place in my heart, and it always will.
So you never look back from that decision?
Nope. The only time I really look back was after my freshman year, but that was a tough time for me, just mentally and just physically, with everything going on. I was a freshman coming in. I actually played quite a bit my freshman year. You know, we weren't very good. I think we went like 10-19 or something. It was real tough for me because after that season, our coach got let go. I wasn't quite sure what to do because I wasn't really getting recruited by many other schools that hard, so I didn't think I had anywhere to go. And I was kind of pondering like what I would do with my career if I played with guys who I didn't know were going to stay, new guys coming in. But you know, every single guy that came through Mayville, I built a strong relationship with, and that definitely helped me with the decision to stay there after my freshman year. And Coach Ty, obviously, when Coach Ty came in, all the coaches that come through, I wasn't really all into it, but when Coach Ty came in, he came in and sat down in this big auditorium, and he started playing a song on the piano for us. And, you know, that was the turning point for me. I was like, this guy's different from the rest, and he likes to do it differently from what the other coaches have done. And that stood out to me because that's the kind of person I am, too. He wasn't afraid to come in here and be himself, you know? And that really helped me. And from there on out, he just brought in guys that bonded super well in the locker room and clicked, and I really enjoyed just the locker room moments. I'll remember everything that went on in the locker room for the last 4 years. You know, that was just a special experience.
So Max, is it safe to say, I mean, we never know, we never can predict, but it sounds like without Coach Ty, you may not have completed your college career.
Oh, absolutely. And the other staff, Coach Al, Coach Piles too, and Coach Dalton Kleinschmidt, and all the other coaches that came through just made it so much easier for me. They helped me so much over the years, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. It taught me a lot as a person as well, just as a man outside of basketball, the kind of person to be, and the way that, like, Coach Ty came in that interview from the start, just the confidence that he came in with kind of helped me apply that to my own self a little bit, you know.
What are some of the key takeaways that you took away as a person from Mayville Comet basketball?
As a person, I would definitely say giving people a chance is definitely the biggest thing that I took away, and just communicating with them the right way, because there's people from all over the world, all over the country, so you got to be more adaptable. And that you can relate to that. I'm a business major, and I worked for a logistics company this summer, so I had to talk to all different people, truck drivers all over the country, and different people are different to talk to. You have to understand the way of life of different cultures and stuff like that, and the way that we all would come in, we do this game where we all had to know each other's names, and if someone had a kid, you have to know their kids' names, their dogs' names, and all that. So you have to figure out and understand the life of everyone else. And then once you get past that, everyone just seemed to click all the time. So that's another thing that I will take into my personal life, is just the way to getting to know people. You know, it's so important, and I credit Mayville State basketball for that.
You know, that's interesting you say that. I don't know if it's true or not, but many years ago, somebody told me it's impossible to hate somebody you know. So if you know, Max, if I ever had, like in my business life, I would always try to bond with whoever I was having run-ins with. Now, didn't always work, but you're really lucky to kind of learn that lesson at such a young age. I think it took me till I was about 40 till I stopped being such a hard head. So, but I think there is something to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a major characteristic that I think everyone should try and have going into life after college athletics. I hope most coaches do that kind of thing, you know, because it really does build you as a person on and off the court. It carries over into basketball so much as well. And I think that's how we found so much success in the 4 years I had, but in the last 3 years I had. I think if we didn't have guys that were willing to do that and play a part of the team and do their role, I think that is just such a major key to why we had our success over the years. Just the guys were all clicking always.
So your freshman year, you played a lot. You had a coaching change. You were happy Coach Ty came in. Your sophomore year, you didn't play very much, but was it a better year? Was it a learning year? Talk about your sophomore year.
Oh, absolutely. So at first I was kind of skeptical, like, because I wasn't playing, but I also played football as well for Mayville. So that year I missed a bunch of stuff, so I was a little behind. And the guys in front of me were outstanding players, Garrick Druga and Eric Stabler, and they made sure I had the opportunities I had in practice and such, but I just got to watch them the whole year and play again because they had more experience than I did, especially from my freshman year. But they that year I learned so much just from being on the sidelines and in practice on the scout team and such that boosted my playing abilities towards the end of the season. Going into my junior year, I was like, okay, I know I can do this. I know what the deal is here. I know how coach wants things done. And from that year on, I would say I took a leadership role almost in my sophomore year because I wasn't playing and all, but I knew what was right and what was wrong. And I started to gain that understanding and taking that into my junior and senior year too, especially my senior year when we had all new guys. That helped so much. And I reflect on that sophomore year almost every single day when I didn't play. I hung this thing in my locker that I don't really want to say what was on it because it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but it gave me a motivation that I like to keep close to me always, and the guys around me helped me develop that inspiration, and it was a tough year for me, but it really was great. And it helped me as a person, as a basketball player. Someone I looked up to just from playing in the Twin Cities Pro-Am was Royce White. I knew his story. I don't know if you know his story, but I was struggling with some things going into throughout my sophomore year, and I played in the Pro-Am for two summers, this last summer and the summer before, but I kind of talked to Royce White a bit because I knew his story with mental health and all that, and I was struggling just a little bit. So I reached out to him on Instagram, and he gave me some really great words of advice. And this was after my sophomore year. I didn't play, but he said the biggest thing when you're playing is just be useful and feel free to do what you got to do to be successful. And he was just he let me know that he was always there to chat and reach out to him. Being able to get advice like that from someone at such a high rank in the basketball world is really amazing. And I took that upon me, just that advice he gave to me every single day. I practiced and played that sophomore year. That was just an amazing experience for me, getting to talk to a guy like that who I know had experienced similar things. You got to look through the things like playing time and minutes, but you got to learn how to be a good teammate. Because I wouldn't say I was like the best teammate going into up until my sophomore year, but when I wasn't playing, I had no other choice basically.
Yeah.
It was either be miserable at the end of the bench or be clapping my hardest and standing up every time someone scored, bench celebrations and all that. And I took pride in that with the guys that I had on the scout team with me. And we made that year so much fun. We also won a championship, so obviously it all worked. And all 15, 16 guys I think we had played a part in that championship year, just from practice in the scout team and being great bench players or bench guys is just so important to the team.
And then you come back in your junior season. What a change. You played all 29 games. You averaged 11 points, 4 rebounds, played 17 minutes a game. During that junior year, did you ever look back and say, wow, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do this when I was a freshman?
Oh, no, not at all. That was what I was working for ever since my freshman year. 'Cause I always have that. I'm sure every player has it, but I know that I could play with those guys, and it was just timing. So when my time came, I knew I was going to make the most of it. And bad game or not, you still contribute to the team. And I don't know, it's just something that I always knew I could play in that level and play with those guys. So I made the most of it.
Well, late in your junior season, you had a career high. You scored 20 points against Mount Marty. The Comets that year advanced to their second consecutive national tournament. You fell to Morningside in the opening round. What do you remember about that tournament in Sioux Falls as a junior?
I don't like to think about that game a whole lot, but it definitely was a great learning experience for us as a team, just knowing what we had to do. And our preparation before was really, really good. It was just on us players to deliver it. And I think we were a little bit just caught up in the moment. I don't know. It was a tough game, but there was a lot of takeaways that I took away personally going into my senior year from that game, which I knew I needed to focus on if we wanted to be one of the best teams in the country.
So you got to Sioux Falls. You fell. I mean, it's a tough road. You get to the national tournament, but this summer, before your senior season, you had 13 players that didn't come back. And Max, you were absolutely thrust into a major leadership role. How did you feel about your role coming into this season?
I love that I was able to get that opportunity because I'm a very loud, outspoken person, and at first I was kind of skeptical of what it was going to be like with 13 new guys, or I think it was more than that. I guess it was just me, and there was two other returners who didn't get to play. They were kind of like me my sophomore year, but it was their junior year, so it was more on me just to make sure I helped everyone as much as possible. And I think that was also a huge learning point for me in my life, just being able to take a leadership role and apply it and see it work out was truly amazing, you know. And none of it could have been done if everyone didn't buy in like they did, or did buy in like they did. And I think in Coach Ty's system, everyone is a leader in their own way. The leadership role I took was more just making sure the right things were done on and off the court. Once we got that down, everyone really took a leadership role this last year especially, and everyone was communicating, everyone was teaching each other. My senior year, especially with all the new guys, we kind of clashed heads at first. People didn't always agree. We lost some players. We lost about 4 or 5 players throughout the year. But, you know, everyone played their role, did their part, and even though we were clashing heads, that built a stronger relationship between us. And my leadership role didn't really have to be done as much going like as the season started, because everyone started buying in and figuring out what to do faster than I thought that we would, to be honest with you.
Now, I understand, Max, that Coach Ty allowed the captains to run some practices this year. Talk about how that built your leadership role.
Oh, that was one of the coolest things, Coach letting us run some practices. You know, it was very, very organized, and everyone knew what we were there to do. When we stepped in the gym, there was no looking back of, oh, I'm tired, or like this. I mean, some days we have days where we're sluggish, but when we had these captains practices, everyone was focused, sharp, and on point. I think that really was good for us because we trusted in each other. We didn't have to rely on coaches to tell us what to do. We all could figure out what was going on wrong within plays or within the system, what we have to figure out. I think being able to figure that out without the coach's help sometimes was better for us, you know, because it also helped us learn how to coach each other in the right way, not the wrong way. And people were just all flowing correctly. Everyone was getting stuff done. And I think captain's practices really helped us a lot this year too. We even had them towards the end of the season as well, which was pretty cool. And yeah, it worked out for us.
So Max, let's walk our way through this season. There were definitely some expectations. You guys, I think you had won 2 straight North Star championships, been to the tournament. You play your first game of the year. You have to go over to Jamestown, tough place to play, and you lose the first game of the year. What was that bus ride home that cold November night early in the season?
You know, it wasn't as bad as what you would think, because I think Jamestown was ranked 10th in the country. I'm not 100% sure at that time.
They were ranked up there, yeah.
But we were with them that whole entire game. And you have to keep in mind, this is a whole team that hasn't played with each other before. And it was a pretty contested game throughout the whole 40 minutes. But after it, we kind of looked back at it, and we weren't too disappointed with ourselves because we did some really good things, and we corrected them immediately the next week. And after that, I think we went on a pretty big win streak. I think it was after that game. And I think with that game not getting down on ourselves, that helped us a lot because we were able to focus on the positive things more than the negative.
So yeah, after that game, you ended up winning 4 straight. What do you think turned things around after that initial loss?
Yeah, definitely the positive attitude that we had and looking at the positive things turned it around because we didn't focus on the negative things and get down on ourselves after that game. It was the first game of the year, you know, and I think that was a big thing, just not looking back on the negative things. Obviously, you have to correct the things that we did wrong, but we focused on it in a more positive way than it.
So after the Jamestown game, probably one of the toughest losses for you guys this year was a loss to Mount Marty, another November game in overtime. Did you guys realize that Mount Marty was as good as they were? Or did they kind of sneak up on you?
Well, we played them the previous year, and we played in an overtime game at Mount Marty, so we knew they could play. My first 2 years playing, they weren't as good as what they were the last 2 years. They were a really good team. They were making tough shots, you know, against us, but they played good basketball. We just didn't do everything we needed to do to seal that game off, but we did come back. I think we were down 16 at one point against them, and we kicked it into gear, but I think we lost again in overtime to them this year. You can't take any team lightly in any of the NAIA because players are outstanding. And Mount Marty had some dudes this year. They were knocking down shots. They were knocking down shots that D1 players, NCAA D1 players, NBA players would be shooting. So, I mean, it's just one of those games where, it happens. I don't think we took them lightly, but it was just another loss on our record that hurt a little bit more than the others, but we learned from it.
So, Max, you guys played a lot of exhibition games against quite higher level opponents. Do you feel that those lopsided, because most of them beat you up pretty good, did that help or hurt your team this year?
That helped a lot, especially my junior year too. But this year it helped a lot too, just being able to play on that stage in front of a lot of people like we did, but playing that kind of talent. Just if you screw up, they're going to score. They're going to make the most of every opportunity they get. So it teaches you to limit the turnovers, limit the bad plays or bad shots that you take, because they're going to capitalize on it every time you do something bad. So I think that taught us a lot.
Yeah, you played, I think it was, anyway, several exhibitions. So you lost that game to Mount Marty, but then you went on an 11-game win streak after that. Outside of the exhibitions, you went on an 11-game win streak. What fueled that run?
We actually kind of did something that we did at the beginning of the year, kind of like a little huddle thing in the locker room, where we would sit. We did it a few times this year. We sat in the locker room and communicated for 3 hours by ourselves, just all players, multiple times this year. We'd sit in the locker room for hours on end, just talking about what we need to do better. And then we'd write it on the whiteboard that we have, and we'd bring that into the practice, and we'd focus on that. And we actually had a buddy system. This came later on in the year, the buddy system, but we had, so let's say I was with the point guard, Latrell. When he wasn't in, or if we were in together, he would coach me up and make sure I'm doing fixing the mistakes that I made in that Mount Marty game, let's say. And we kind of had that going on, and that helped a ton in practices, and that led over to the games that we played after that to fuel that win streak. We eliminated those mistakes that we made. Obviously, we made some new mistakes along the way, but just being able to identify those helped us so much during that win streak.
So you would pair up with another player, and then you would kind of, this isn't probably the right word, but kind of keep each other honest or coach each other up during the game.
Yeah, hold each other accountable. That's
okay.
The biggest thing. That's what it was. Yeah,
hold each other accountable. That's a good way to put it. That's an interesting concept. I've never heard of that. Had you ever had that anywhere else you played?
No, it was we actually did that buddy system we did was the first time I've done it in my 4 years, and I think it was outstanding for us. It also grew relationships between people, and we do this stretching thing, which takes about 10 minutes every day. You stood next to your partner, and we in stretching we have to be as loud as possible. We're always screaming and clapping, and that sets the tone for the practice. Okay. And in games too, we do it before the games. And even that holding each other accountable. If someone isn't clapping or yelling, you tell them to do it. Or coach is blowing the whistle, we're going back and starting the stretch over. So it stopped us from doing that a lot.
So who set up
those mistakes?
Who set up the matches for the buddies? Because I could see if everybody was able to pick their best friend, that it'd just create a bunch of cliques. Yep. So how did you avoid that?
We all found very good matches. Like, everyone was pretty honest with who they should be with, and people that don't talk as much should be with more vocal people, or more, say someone has more intelligence in the game, like understanding in the system what's going on, with someone that doesn't quite get it yet or understand it. We paired those two kind of people together, and everyone figured that out on their own. Coach made a couple switches, but they weren't negative switches. They were just because they think someone would be better fit with someone else. But it was more the players who decided that, with like who would be buddied up and partnered.
This season, you only lost one conference game at home. You lost to Bellevue. What was the secret to your home success? You guys were pretty invincible there in Mayville.
Yeah. Geez. Well, I mean, we had awesome fans. Fans helped. We had a great student section in conference. We had packed gym almost, but just taking pride of the M that's in the middle of the court and on our jerseys is just what we did, and we made sure that we weren't letting anyone come in there and beat us. There wasn't really a secret to it, but we didn't let anyone come in. It was rare that a team would come in there and light us up.
So how important is the crowd in a small college basketball game?
If you have a good crowd on your side, oh yeah. If you have a crowd on your side, they're not gonna take it easy on the other team, and that just boosts your confidence. That boosts the morale of the team. It helps so much. You see Utah State, Craig Smith, he used to coach at Mayville. He just went to Utah, won back-to-back conference championships, but you see he has the best crowd in college basketball at every home game. So the home field advantage is definitely something that plays a part in whether you win or lose a game.
Where's the toughest place to play in the North Star?
Up until my senior year, Presentation was a tough place. That little tin gym was echoey. They had tons of rowdy students. That was definitely one of the toughest places. This year was actually the only year I won at Presentation. So I would say Presentation over the years was the toughest to play at. But also Bellevue, because that gym is tiny, it's hot, But I would give credit to the Presentation for their student section over the years.
This year you won the North Star Championship. You had a heck of a battle with Waldorf for the championship.
Yep.
I mean, talk about that game.
I'm not sure if we ever were down against Waldorf. I'd have to go back and watch it. But we were very confident. After we won that first game against the Turbo, we were confident that we knew what we had to do to win the game the following Sunday. Like, I struggled a little bit. I mean, I was going up against 7'3" Gabriel Munoz, and he started blocking my shots a bit. So I told some of the point guards, Latrell and Jalen and the other guys, you got to do your thing right now. We need you here. And they really did it. Latrell especially, he came in there and he made up for the points that we needed, and they took that upon themselves and helped the team out a lot and led us to a victory, because I was struggling a little bit that game. So my teammates definitely did their part and made that a successful game.
I remember that game. You were up by 10, well under a minute to go, but you were able to hold them off and get that victory and get that North Star trophy once again. I think that was 3 in a row for you, wasn't it?
Yep, it was a three-peat. It was incredible.
So
definitely something I will never forget, just doing that.
You won that. That had to have been very, very exciting. And now you're gearing up for Sioux Falls. How did you guys feel going into the national tournament this year?
Out of all the years that we did make it, this is the year, I think. We're going to play a good Oregon Tech team, but we had a game plan. I think that was going to be very successful for us. And it was a shame that we didn't get to play that game, but we prepped hard. We did everything. We took care of our bodies. And I think this was the year that we could have made a pretty good run in the national tournament, because we matched up pretty differently with everyone else. We were a smaller, undersized team, but we liked to go. I think it was tough for people to guard us. We had such a lightning-quick backcourt, and it was very unfortunate, but we were ready. We were ready to make a run.
Talk about that moment you found out there's no basketball.
So we had just got done with a shoot-around. We were on the bus, and we'd already heard the news. We had already written down the 100 people that could come into the game. It was limited participation from fans. It was family only. And we knew there was a chance this could happen, but I thought we were for sure going to play. It was game day. The games were already played before us. We were sitting on the bus going back to the hotel, and I heard one of my buddies talking to one of my old teammates from my junior year who plays for Indiana Kokomo, and he gave a ring, said they were canceled, and I didn't believe it. And then Coach Ty, so I didn't really think too much of it, and then Coach Ty came in, or back to the back of the bus, and told us that it was not going to happen. We weren't going to get to play these games, and it sounded like they were going to cancel the event. And, when I heard that, I burst into tears, because we had worked so hard this year for that, harder than I've worked definitely the last 3 years, and my teammates too especially, and it was just devastating.
Absolutely.
It was a tough time, but the way I looked at it is we had an amazing season. I think it was the second best record in Mayville history. We did that. We made the town proud and happy, and the only negative thing was that we didn't get to play that game. Win or lose in that first game, we did what we had to do, and we definitely made people proud. And that was the biggest thing.
Absolutely, and
biggest takeaway I had.
And nobody can take away what you did accomplish. That's the most important thing.
It was devastating, but you learn from it. You learn, and you think about the experiences you've had over the years, and it just makes you very grateful for having those opportunities.
Max, on the day you signed with Mayville, your arm was in a sling. You got to tell us a story. What was the deal with that?
This is kind of a funny thing. So I played football for Minnetonka High School, and we were playing Shakopee. And I went to go tackle someone, and my shoulder popped out, and one of my defensive lineman teammates landed on it when it was really dislocated, so it got even worse. We went back, and the trainer couldn't get it back in, so they were yanking at it, which ended up tearing my labrum.
Oh, no.
And I played with it. I played in a sling, or I played in a Sully brace in my senior season for a little bit. Then we're playing Cretin-Durham Hall, in the breakdown event at my high school where we hosted, and actually all of the Mayville coaches came. All of Coach DeWitt, Coach Al, Coach Piles, they all came to the game. And unfortunately, with 4 minutes left, it was a free throw player. Went to go get the offensive rebound, and my arm got caught in it. It caught in someone's arm, and it dislocated yet again. And it wouldn't go back in yet again. So then I just knew my labrum was completely torn. So there was another time I was shooting. I was working out at Lifetime by myself, and then it came out again. I went up to go grab the ball, and my arm just came out of place. So I was like, okay, I need to get surgery before I go play college basketball. Otherwise, I'm never going to get the opportunity to play. So I was in that till about early August. Then I missed like the first 3 weeks of preseason, and yeah, just from there on out, it's been good to me. So.
But I didn't know it was that serious of an injury. I probably wouldn't have teased you about it. I just saw you were in a sling in a picture. So you're obviously your surgery. You never suffered any ill effects after the surgery when you got back.
No, I mean, actually, my junior year, my right shoulder came out, and this year against Northwestern, my right shoulder came out, and I was shooting free throws. But I knew how to deal with the pain a little bit by then because it happened so many times. So both my shoulders ended up coming out of my career, but. My senior year, I definitely was going to play through that. No questions about it.
So, Max, you told us you're a business major. What's next for you after Mayville?
I've talked to a few people about playing overseas and all that, but obviously there's got to be some reality to it. What I want to do. I mean, I'm going to do some workouts and try in that little farm G League system tryouts. I'm going to see what I can do there and just get some feedback. I think in September I'm going to go to those tryouts for the G League teams, but if they still have them. But if I don't end up playing, I'm definitely going to either try and start my own business, or I'm going to maybe go back and work for the logistics company that I worked for this last summer.
Well, whatever you do, I'm sure you'll be very successful. Max, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. I think your basketball story, to me at least, is very, very interesting, and I appreciate you sharing it with us.
Thanks for having me. I've never really done any of these till this year, so it's always a blessing getting to tell people what it's like out in Mayville and what we got to do.
Thanks a lot, Max. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.